Here we have my 1924 Freshman Masterpiece AM broadcast band radio. It is what they call a TRF receiver, TRF being a three-letter acronym that's very rarely used these days. Stands for Tuned Radio Frequency. As you can see, the front has got 3 tuning knobs. One for the first RF amplifier stage, another one for the second RF amplifier stage, and one for the detector/demodulator. Now, each of the stages amplifies the incoming radio frequency and also tunes it in, therefore giving it a bit more gain before it is fed into the next one, and gives it a bit more gain still before it is demodulated by the third stage into an audio signal and amplified by a further 2 audio amplifier stages. Now, these were relatively common in the 1920s. I think RCA, I don't know who it was, I think it was RCA, or at least there was a patent for the regenerative receiver which pretty much did a somewhat slightly better job with less valves. There were some companies that weren't allowed to use that patent, so they did this instead. Now, as you can imagine, with 3 stages of tuning, things can be a bit painful as far as dialing in a radio station. But the joyful thing is, this came with a logging chart. So once you got that station, you can write down the position of the 3 dials, so you can tune to it later on without any trouble. As you can see on the inside, it's all 01A valves with woven tuning coils, which look rather pretty. And if I can get in there, there's the variable capacitors. So I'll just close this. Oh yeah, I've got the other 2 knobs. What do they do? Well, that is a rheostat which varies the amount of voltage going to the second RF amplifier stage, and that one controls the amount of voltage going to the detector/demodulator. And this big knob, when you pull it out, or is it push it in? Pull it out, turns it on. So you can imagine trying to tune this thing in to an alternative station. You can see I move it away and it gets quieter. Turn up the amplifier, turn it down, it goes quieter still. Now, I did mention it's using 01A valves. I actually have to put a capacitor across the speaker output, otherwise it's really toppy. So let's try and tune to another station and see what happens. Ooh, there's something.
In 2013, Josephine packed up, moved from her native Melbourne to her husband's hometown of Montreal, where she's hoping...
Well, that was easier than I suspected, but you can sort of see it's not extremely easy. But let's go back to where we were. I think that was about 30-ish. That was about 20-ish, and that was about...
Katarina.
There we go.
There in, well, I suppose you can say down there or across there, or somewhere in Geelong, listening to the show. I hope enjoying it.
There you go.
Immensely.
This is what listening to the radio in the 20s was like.
Years for this next recording.
Yeah. Good fun. Now, let's look at the schematic for this radio, but before we do, this is my dog Ted. Know that face? He just farted, and I'm going to have to deal with it while I talk, so I'm shaming him right now. He doesn't seem to care, but anyway. Back to this schematic. So, zoom out a tiny bit. Alright, adjust that tripod so I can use both my hands and not wiggle it around. Anyway, this is the schematic of the radio. It's got a... Alright. It's got the antenna coil... Right. Let me move that. Everything's moving on me. It's got the antenna coil right there. The tuning coil with the first capacitor. Tunes that, selects the frequency. Amplifies it. comes out through another coil, which gets induced through the next tuning coil, and gets amplified yet again by the next triode, therefore giving it more gain and more selectivity. The output of that goes through another coil, which gets induced into another tuning coil, which gets tuned up again, but it doesn't go through another amplifier stage. It goes through the detector stage, which is comprised of another triode. On the grid, it's got a capacitor and a resistor to put it in the grid leak mode, similar to what you see in a regenerative receiver, but it does not have the tickler coil to feed it back in again and again and again, so it doesn't regenerate at all. So this is pretty much the demodulator, and that's about it. The output of that goes through an audio transformer into one stage, which goes into another audio transformer, into the final stage, into the loudspeaker. Now what's slightly different with this one, it's got a C- battery to give the final stage a bit of bias, because in this schematic it's got a 112 output triode, where mine just got a 01A, so it doesn't need the native bias. So just let's pretend that's connected to ground, but I'm just talking crap now. So as you can see, it's got 1, 2, 3 tuning stages with 2 amplifier stages, and a detector and 2 audio stages, so you can sort of see how it works. So tunes, amplifiers, tunes, demodulates, audio amplification, hence the need for 3 tuning capacitors. You can see why this became obsolete as soon as the super het was available to the masses and became affordable. This completely was gone, because as you saw in the previous demonstration, it is a major pain in the ass to tune. Alright, now hopefully you've learnt something. Any questions, put them in the comments below. I also welcome abuse. Thank you.